Hi, I'm Chris Norris, Director of Policy and Campaigns at the National Residential Landlords Association, the UK's largest membership body for private residential landlords. Although the NRLA only officially launched in April 2020, it builds on more than 60 years of combined experience accrued by the national and residential landlords associations representing private landlords in the UK. From their earliest beginnings as grassroots movements against the anti-landlord legislation of the 1960s and 70s, both organisations spent decades pushing for renting reform and making sure that landlords' voices were not only heard but taken seriously by those in government making decisions. And it's upon exactly that platform that the NRLA was formed. Landlords associations have achieved a great deal on behalf of their members over the years, but the challenges today are as demanding as they've ever been. The current public health crisis is obviously top of everyone's minds at the moment, and the NRLA team has worked non-stop over the last few weeks to make sure that members have all of the advice, the guidance, and the support that we can provide. There's more to the landlord landscape than just getting to the other side of coronavirus. The environment in which we work, the rules and regulations we live by, they've changed dramatically, sometimes for the better and sometimes admittedly for the worse. We aim to make sure that whatever lies ahead, there is an opportunity and a place for landlords to invest, to innovate and ultimately succeed in their businesses. The new organisation already has a membership of more than 80,000 private landlords and ambitions for rapid growth. And we want to grow our support not just for the bragging rights that come with that growth, but to make sure that private landlords have the strongest, the most credible and trusted voice possible. In the short time since launch, we've already forged a strong relationship with government, with opposition and with policymakers across the spectrum, looking at a whole range of issues affecting landlords' businesses. We are actively positioning NLA research at the heart of decision making and have already presented members' views to both the Housing Minister, the Shadow Minister and advisors at Number 10, as well as members of the Welsh Government.
My name is Meera Chandra and I lead on campaigns and public affairs at the NRLA. Landlords, along with the rest of the country, are facing uniquely challenging circumstances at the moment, and we've been working hard to represent members to local and national government, speaking regularly with officials as well as UK and Welsh ministers. The merger of the NLA and RLA has enabled us to advocate much more effectively for landlords during the crisis, and has also given a focus point for government to engage with the sector, helping to emphasise our message. We've seen successes already, with local housing allowance increased, changes to universal credit, and the government calling on local authorities to delay forthcoming licensing schemes. And our work is not over yet. The UK government remains committed to major reforms which will have a huge impact on landlords' businesses, including the abolition of Section 21, the introduction of lifetime deposits, and mandatory landlord redress. And the Welsh Government is due to finally implement its reforms to tenancy laws in the next year. We are actively involved in working groups on these issues, and our stories from our membership enable us to effectively illustrate to officials the impact that proposed policy changes will have on landlords, whether that's through engagement at local meetings or insights from our advice line or our research. While we are still awaiting the government's proposals around the abolition of Section 21, the voice of our members was heard, with officials attending a number of local meetings to hear directly from members, on top of the raft of case studies and data which we submitted through our consultation responses. Listening to the student landlords describe how the loss of Section 21 would undermine their businesses, or HMO landlords on the challenges of dealing with antisocial behaviour and keeping other tenants safe, makes a difference. And hearing similar concerns raised time and again across the country shows that the issue is a systemic one. By bringing landlords together, we can amplify the voices of individuals, and the NRLA will continue to do so on all the changes facing the private rented sector, whether emergency or long term.
It's no good going to government with proposals because we think they're right. We have to try and demonstrate that they're right, that will make the changes that the government wants to see in the sector and will make the improvements that we claim that they will. And we do that through gathering evidence from our own research, member surveys, our quarterly reports and ad hoc surveys, We scrutinise and critically examine other people's research. We can commission research from independent commercial companies and polling companies, and we can also commission research from academics at universities and from think tanks. Another rich source of information and data is through freedom of information requests from government at every level, Westminster, the Welsh Assembly, and from local authorities. Our Section 21 research was the largest non-governmental landlord survey carried out, and that informed our response to the government's consultation on the abolition of Section 21. It also helped put the idea of court and justice reform firmly in the agenda. The government's now speaking and consulting on a new housing court that we hope will help speed up housing justice for our members. We're also agile and quick to respond to new situations. Our recent coronavirus surveys helped us put together a package of proposals of support for landlords to take to the government. Our research observatory holds a rich collection of information about housing and the private rented sector. It's available on our website and updated regularly when new statistics are released. From our Landlord Confidence Index, tracking your sentiment about the market, to data on average rents, the length of time it takes to claim possession, about housing standards, it's all in one place. You'll also find our research reports there and blogs on topical issues. But we can't do any of this without the input and support of our members. The merger now gives us a much bigger base on which to base our research, and that really matters. Numbers matter to government, but they also matter in research. The more responses we get, the more input you have, the more reliable our evidence, our statistics and our information is. And one of the most critical elements is your direct experience. We do need case studies to bring data and statistics to life. A real life story showing the impact of policies cuts through 100 tables, a dozen charts and no end of executive summaries. So please, do take the time to support our research. Don't just tick the boxes in the surveys as you go through. Do tell us about how you and your tenants are affected. It can make all the difference to our work on your behalf to government.
Hi, my name is Matthew Oliver. I'm the Head of Regional Networks at the NRLA. What does that fancy title mean? It means that I'm in charge of local member engagement and our 21 local reps who all across the country run local meetings when we're not in lockdown to try and really build that sense of member community in the country. It's not easy being a landlord at the minute. We feel under attack from all sides, and so I'm not sure many of you identify yourselves as a landlord to even some of your closest friends and family. So it can be really nice when you walk into a room full of fellow landlords, full of fellow friends, full of people that are going through what you go through on a daily basis with your tenants.
Hello, my name is Hannah Darling and I'm the local representative for the NRLA in Devon and Cornwall. I arrange local meetings for landlords and members to help to get all the information that you need across to you.
Hello, my name is Richard Blanco and I'm one of the London representatives for the National Residential Landlords Association. Now, we run something like 60 meetings a year across London, attended by some 5,000 landlords. So we come across loads of different people in the business, and it's a really excellent way of keeping our finger on the pulse of what's going on in the landlord community.
I'm Sandra Towers and I'm one of the regional representatives for the NRLA. That means that I work in the West Midlands and Telford and Wrekin, Shropshire and Staffordshire. And really I'm a connection with local landlords, members and non-members, through a number of ways really. I run regional meetings, breakfast meetings, evening meetings that members and non-members can come along to free of charge.
Hi, my name's Joanne Dron. I am the rep for Essex and a little bit of Suffolk for the NRLA, and I'm also a full-time landlord.
At these meetings, it's the perfect opportunity to be able to talk to other landlords, share stories, learn things, have a moan. It's quite lonely sometimes, and it's a really nice time to share with people who really understand what you're doing and how you go about things as well.
It's also part of our job to stay on top of regulation, to educate and inform landlords, and also to entertain them, and hopefully as positive role models to act as an inspiration in some way.
There's always cake or breakfast if it's a breakfast meeting, and quite often we have some really interesting speakers that members have asked to find out a bit more about a particular subject. So we've had a really good speaker on stamp duty, for example, capital gains tax, damp, some of those issues that might bore the average person but are really interesting and necessary for a landlord.
I'm also running webinars for landlords to make sure that we can keep people up to date.
We meet people who have the same experiences or vastly different experiences and can offer us some support and experience. And I see that a lot actually. I see landlords connecting, talking to each other, supporting each other, and often providing contacts, tradesmen.
So that's a bit about what we do. We'd love to see you at one of our local meetings and get to know you a little bit better.
And that is what I do.
So I really do look forward to meeting you guys within the virtual community or within our real life community in the future. Keep safe.
Hi there, my name's Cam Davis and I'm the NRLA's Welsh Policy and Public Affairs Officer. I've been in the post now for 7 months, and the most memorable campaign for me in that time was also my first. The campaign concerned new regulations surrounding holding deposit, which came about as a result of the tenant fees ban passed by the Welsh Assembly last year. In November 2019, the Welsh Government laid new regulations on what information a landlord or agent must provide before accepting a holding deposit. That means before any money had even exchanged hands. We had two important issues with these regulations. The first, one of your details that you would have had to provide would have been your address. This means someone could find out where you and your family live, even though nothing had even been signed or paid for at that point. Second was the time frame. The Minister only gave 4 weeks for landlords when most people would be busy making sure all their properties were full before the Christmas break. The Wales team thought these were unnecessary and unhelpful conditions. So over the course of 2 weeks, through carefully coordinated communications with the Minister and government backbenchers, in addition to opposition spokespeople, through which we were able to hold the Welsh Government's feet to the fire by securing a motion to annul those regulations, we were able to gain new amended regulations, which meant landlords would not have to provide their address and would get until the end of February 2020, as opposed to mid-December 2019, to get their house in order. So I was delighted that the Minister listened to what we had to say and adjusted the regulations accordingly. This goes to show that working in partnership can lead to better and more balanced outcomes for both landlords and tenants.
Looking to the future, we intend to make sure that the government and any future government does not make the same mistakes as their predecessors. Too much government policy making about housing, and in particular the private rented sector, has been based on a combination of anecdote, speculation, and mostly assumption about what tenants want and how landlords behave. Using a combination of robust research methodologies, new and innovative technologies, and ways of communicating, We have made it the NRLA's mission to ensure that landlords' interests are recognised and understood. Now, that doesn't mean we'll always succeed. Policymaking is all too often based on political or ideological decisions, which no amount of reasoned argument or robust data will necessarily contradict. However, what it does mean is that we'll be able to get on the front foot. We'll initiate debate and conversation, rather than just reacting to the latest call for knee-jerk reaction, and far too often getting there too late to really make our voice heard. The onus on future positioning will be proactivity. The NRLA will position itself as a leader in public policy development and the natural instigator of debate about private renting. By investing in the right skills, the right capacity and technology, our ambition is to make the NRLA member an integral part of government and political decision making via their association with us. In summary, I hope this video has demonstrated to you that the NRLA intends to be a force to be reckoned with on behalf of private landlords. But it can only continue to grow and develop along those lines if landlords join. We are already more than 80,000 strong, which is an incredible number of landlords to come together, but we need to be much, much more if we're to have the level of influence that our members truly deserve. Membership of the NRLA is a contract, and not just in the sense of the terms and conditions that we ask members to sign. We ask our members to support us, to lend us their insight through our research and conversations with us, to attend our webinars and our meetings, to share their experience and help us understand their priorities. Ultimately, we ask them to become part of a community that we facilitate, a community for members of a profession which tends to be insular and isolating by definition. But in return, we promise to support and represent them, to champion their legitimate causes, to provide advice, guidance and support when they need it, and to provide the tools and the opportunities for each and every member to influence the way our industry operates and grows. Private landlords provide more than 1 in 5 homes in the UK, but despite this figure, they're generally denigrated and undervalued by society. We think this needs to change. In fact, we believe this must change and are committed to driving that change. If you want to be part of that change, join the NRLA.